Hollywood told him his name was too foreign and that he'd never be a star. He refused and went on to become one of the most powerful actors alive, proving everyone wrong. To follow this story of how rejection forged a legend and improve your English with us, subscribe now and turn on all notifications so you never miss our next lesson. I am talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. This is the story of a boy who grew up in a dangerous neighborhood, a place surrounded by crime, drugs, and violence. It is the story of a boy raised by a single mother, a woman who struggled every single day to give her son a better life. This is the story of a boy who was told again and again, "You're not good enough. You don't look like a star. You will never make it." But that boy did not stop. He did not quit. He did not give up. Instead, he became the face of one of the biggest films in history, Titanic. He became an actor who would dedicate his entire soul to every role he played. He would win an Oscar. Stardom. He would stand on the stage at the United Nations, not to promote a film, but to fight for our planet. He would become a global icon, not just for his fame, but for his heart, his focus, and his vision. So let's begin. Part 1. A child of dreams and struggles. Leonardo Wilhelm DiCaprio was born on November 11, 1974, in Los Angeles, California, in a poor neighborhood. His full name, Wilhelm, was inspired by his German roots. But his first name, Leonardo, came from a very special moment. His mother, Irmeline, was pregnant and standing in front of a beautiful painting by Leonardo da Vinci in a museum in Italy. At that exact moment, she felt her baby kick inside her. It was a strong, clear kick. That was the moment she knew. She decided she would name her son Leonardo. He was born to Irmeline Indenbirken, a legal secretary, and George DiCaprio, an underground comic book artist and distributor. His parents were passionate creative people, but their relationship did not last. When Leonardo was just 1 year old, his parents separated. His father moved out, and Leonardo stayed with his mother. But here is what makes the story so powerful. Even though his parents were no longer together, they both stayed very involved in his life. His father lived nearby, and both of his parents made sure that Leo got the best they could give him, even when they had very, very little. The neighborhood where Leonardo grew up was rough and dangerous. He once described it as being filled with prostitution, drug addicts, and violence. It was a place where kids were easily pulled into crime. At the age of 5, Leonardo saw things that most children should never ever see. He was even robbed on the street. But instead of becoming bitter or angry, he used those experiences to shape his understanding of life, to understand the struggles of other people. His mother worked multiple jobs. She worked as a legal secretary, and sometimes she even did cleaning jobs just to support Leonardo's education and his early passion for acting. She believed in him completely. She would take the bus with young Leonardo for hours just to take him to auditions all across the city. She would sit with him, wait with him for hours, and even when he was rejected, when a director said, "No," she would smile at him and say, "That's okay, Leo. We'll try again tomorrow." From a very young age, Leonardo was different. He was full of energy. He was always mimicking people, making funny faces, acting out scenes he saw on television, and doing impressions. Teachers at school said he could not sit still. He was not a fan of the regular school system. He felt that he did not belong there. His heart was in performance, in storytelling, in his imagination. He knew very early in his life that he wanted to be an actor. But dreams are never enough. You need a break, a chance. He started by appearing in television commercials. One of his first jobs was for Matchbox cars. He was just 5 years old. Then a small break came with a children's TV series called Romper Room. But he was soon fired. Can you guess why? Because he was too disruptive, too energetic. Imagine that. A child who just wanted to perform was rejected for having too much energy. For many years, Leonardo faced constant rejection. Casting agents told him he didn't have the Hollywood look. They told him his name was too long, too strange, too foreign. They told him to change it to something more American, like Lenny Williams. But Leonardo refused. He said, "If I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it as Leonardo DiCaprio." His mother supported that decision completely. She told him, "Your name is a part of who you are." When he was a teenager, he continued to appear in small television roles, sitcoms, educational shows, and more commercials. But he knew he was capable of more. He felt it inside him. At the age of 17, Leonardo finally got his first big role in a TV show called Growing Pains. His performance caught the eye of producers and critics. He was still young, but his intensity, his emotion, and his natural talent made people take notice. But Leonardo was just getting started. He was about to prove to the world that he was not just another pretty face, not just a young actor from television. He was about to dive into roles that would shock everyone, roles that would show just how deep, how committed, and how brilliant he truly was. Part 2. The Rise from TV. Teen to serious actor. After his appearance in Growing Pains, Leonardo was finally starting to get some attention in Hollywood. But he was not satisfied. He did not want to be just a teen heartthrob. He didn't want to be famous for his smile or his hairstyle. He wanted to be great. He wanted to prove himself as a serious actor, someone who could transform, feel deeply, and play roles that would challenge the audience. At just 18 years old, Leonardo got the opportunity that would change everything. He was offered a role in a film called This Boy's Life from 1993. The film was based on a true story. It was about a teenage boy who lived with an abusive stepfather. The role was intense, emotional, and very difficult. But what made this opportunity even more incredible was the man who was playing the stepfather, Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro was not just any actor. He was a legend, a man known for his powerful roles in movies like Taxi Driver: Raging Bull and The Godfather Part 2. For Leonardo, acting alongside De Niro was both terrifying and exciting. He knew this was his chance. If he could stand tall in front of a legend like that, the world would finally have to take him seriously. So how did he prepare? Leonardo did not just learn his lines, he studied the entire script. He thought about his character's life, his pain, his anger, his fears. He would sit alone for hours, imagining himself as that boy living that life. When the camera started rolling, Leonardo gave everything. His scenes were full of raw emotion. He was not just acting, he was living the role. De Niro was impressed. The critics were impressed too. Suddenly, Hollywood was not talking about a teenage boy from Growing Pains. They were talking about a real actor, a young man with raw, natural talent. A performer who could go deep into the soul of a character. But Leonardo was not finished. He was just warming up. That same year, he took on another incredibly challenging role in a film called What's Eating Gilbert Grape. This time, he played the role of a mentally disabled boy named Arnie Grape, who lived in a small town with his brother and his overweight mother. The main character Gilbert was played by another young actor named Johnny Depp, who was already quite famous. But when the film was released, all eyes turned to Leonardo. His performance as Arnie was unbelievable. To prepare, he studied children with disabilities. He watched their body language, listened to how they spoke, how they moved, how they smiled, and how they struggled. He did not try to imitate a disability. He tried to understand it. He showed Arnie as a person with feelings, with dreams, and with joy, not just as a medical condition. When the film came out, audiences were shocked. Many people thought the director had hired a real disabled boy to play the part. They could not believe that Leonardo was acting. His performance was so powerful, so moving, that he was nominated for an Academy Award. An Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Let's pause and think about that for a moment. He was just 19 years old, a boy who grew up in poverty, a boy who had no connections in the industry, a boy who was told to change his name was now being celebrated by the biggest film award in the world. And yet he stayed humble. He did not let the fame go to his head. He did not rush into big action movies or chase million-dollar paychecks. Instead, he carefully picked his next roles. He looked for stories that mattered, for characters that were real, emotional, and complicated. In the following years, Leonardo continued to impress. In The Basketball Diaries in 1995, he played a high school basketball star who falls into drug addiction. The scenes were raw, dark, and painful. Again, he gave everything: his face, his body, his voice, to make the character feel real. In Total Eclipse, also in 1995, he played a young French poet, Arthur Rimbaud. It was a controversial role because it explored the poet's complex romantic relationship with another man. Many actors were afraid to take such a role, but Leonardo did not care about controversy. He cared about truth. He wanted to explore all kinds of human emotions, all kinds of stories. And then in 1996, something huge happened. Leonardo starred in Romeo and Juliet, directed by Baz Luhrmann. It was a modern version of the classic Shakespeare play, full of guns instead of swords, neon lights, fast cars, and wild music. But the heart of the film was still the beautiful love story between Romeo and Juliet. Leonardo played Romeo with so much passion, charm, and soul. Teenage girls all over the world fell in love with him. His face was suddenly on every magazine cover. His name was everywhere. He had become a superstar. But even as the world began to see him as a heartthrob, Leonardo remained focused on his acting. He did not want to be a celebrity. He wanted to be an artist. And that desire, that hunger to go deeper, to push himself further, would lead him to a film that would change his life and the world forever. It was a film about a ship that sank in the freezing Atlantic, a ship called the Titanic, Arta, Doctor. Titanic, the storm of fame. In 1996, a young Canadian director named James Cameron was working on the biggest film of his career. It was a love story, but not just any love story. It was set on the Titanic, the most famous shipwreck in history. The Titanic was a real ship. In 1912, it sank in the North Atlantic Ocean during its very first journey. Over 1,500 people died. It was one of the most tragic and shocking disasters of all time. But James Cameron was not just interested in history. He wanted to tell a story that felt alive, a love story that would touch millions of hearts. He needed two people, a young woman and a young man, to play the lovers from different worlds. He had already chosen the actress Kate Winslet, a talented British star. She was perfect to play Rose, a rich girl who felt trapped in a strict, unhappy life. Now he needed a Jack. The poor artist, the free spirit, the boy with a heart of gold. Many famous actors auditioned. Some had bigger muscles, some had movie deals waiting. But when Leonardo DiCaprio walked into the room, everything changed. He did not just act like Jack. He was Jack. He had that spark in his eye, that easy smile, that hint of sadness. He was funny, brave, romantic, and real. James Cameron saw it instantly. Kate Winslet saw it too. She said later, "He was the only actor who could make you believe that a girl like Rose would leave everything for him." But Leonardo had doubts. He did not want to be just a pretty face in another romantic movie. He was worried about fame. He had seen what fame could do to people. It could destroy them. It could eat them alive. He was not sure if he was ready for that. James Cameron pushed him. "This movie will change your life," he told him. "But you have to trust me." And Leonardo did. The shooting of Titanic was not easy. It was brutal. The budget was huge, over $200 million, which was the most expensive film ever made at that time. The sets were massive. The ship was rebuilt piece by piece. The water in the tanks was freezing cold. The days were long. Sometimes Leonardo and Kate had to shoot scenes while they were shaking with cold. Sometimes they had to stand in wet clothes for hours and hours. But Leonardo never gave up. He treated the role with complete honesty. He did not play Jack as just a charming boy. He showed his passion, his courage, his kindness, and his sadness. He gave Jack a soul. When the film finally came out in December 1997, no one was ready for what happened next. The world exploded. People did not just like Titanic, they were obsessed with it. Women, men, children, teenagers, everyone rushed to the cinema. People watched it 5 times, 10 times, some even more. In some cities, fans cried outside theaters because all the tickets were sold out. And at the heart of it all was Leonardo. He was no longer just a famous actor. He had become a global phenomenon. Posters of him as Jack were on bedroom walls in Japan, India, Brazil, Egypt, Italy, everywhere. His hair, his eyes, his smile. Every teenager wanted to look like him, talk like him, be like him. He was called the King of the World, just like his famous line from the movie. But fame is a strange and difficult thing. On the outside, Leonardo was shining. He was on every magazine cover. He was invited to every party. He was making millions of dollars. But inside, he was overwhelmed. He could not walk outside without being followed by photographers. He could not eat at a restaurant without crowds gathering. He couldn't even go to the bathroom in peace. Cameras were everywhere. People screamed when they saw him. Some even cried or fainted. Every moment of his life was being watched. He started to feel trapped. He once said, "Fame after Titanic felt like a little prison. It was no longer about acting. It was about surviving the noise." Reporters asked about his love life, not his acting roles. Tabloids wrote lies about him. Paparazzi followed him day and night. But perhaps the biggest pain was that he did not get an Oscar nomination for Titanic. Even though the movie won 11 Oscars, even though it became the biggest film of all time, even though he gave a beautiful and heartfelt performance, Leonardo was ignored by the Academy. He was heartbroken. He did not say it publicly, but people close to him knew that it hurt him deeply. He had worked so hard, pushed himself so far, and the one thing he truly wanted recognition as a serious actor was taken from him. So what did he do? He disappeared for a while. He avoided big blockbuster roles. He took time off. He focused on his art, on life, on nature. He traveled. He read. He thought. And when he came back, he did not choose another huge movie. He chose films that were different films with a soul, like The Beach in 2000, a story about searching for paradise, or Catch Me If You Can in 2002, a fast, clever film based on a true story. He stepped back from the spotlight. He started reading more scripts, not just looking for fame, but searching for stories that had depth, complexity, and truth. He began to say no to big studios. He rejected many romantic roles. He stopped attending every red carpet event. Instead, he surrounded himself with people who could challenge him. This was the moment Leonardo made one of the most important decisions of his career. He decided to team up with someone legendary, a director who had worked with Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and many of the greatest actors in history. That man was Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese was already a master known for films like Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, and Goodfellas. He was famous for his raw, gritty, powerful storytelling. At that time, he was looking for a new kind of actor, someone young but serious, someone who could bring emotion, intelligence, and fire to the screen. Their first film together was Gangs of New York in 2002. It was not an easy movie. It was violent, it was intense, and it was set in the 1800s during a brutal period in New York's history. Leonardo played Amsterdam Vallon, a young man who watched his father get murdered, and now wanted revenge. He had to act opposite Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the most respected and intense actors in the world. Day-Lewis was known for completely becoming his character, living, breathing, and thinking like the person he played. Some actors might have felt scared or nervous or small beside him. But Leonardo did not flinch. He stepped right into the fire, gave it everything he had, and stood tall. He studied history. He worked on his accent, he trained with experts, and he stayed in character on the set. He did not act like a star. He acted like a student hungry to learn and ready to grow. Audiences saw a new Leonardo. He was not just charming anymore. He was dangerous, powerful, and layered. He had transformed. In that same year, 2002, Leonardo also starred in Catch Me If You Can, directed by another legend, Steven Spielberg. It was based on the true story of Frank Abagnale Jr., a young con artist who pretended to be a pilot, a doctor, and a lawyer, all before he was 21 years old. It was a fun, fast, stylish film. But under all the fun, there was pain. A boy running from a broken home, a boy trying to make his father proud, a boy hiding behind lies because the truth hurt too much. Leonardo brought all of that emotion to the screen. His smile lit up the film, but his eyes told the real story. Audiences loved him again, but this time it was not just for his looks. It was for his performance, his honesty, his courage. Then came The Aviator in 2004, perhaps the most demanding role of his career up to that point. He played Howard Hughes, a real-life billionaire inventor, filmmaker, and airplane lover who slowly lost his mind to a condition called OCD, or obsessive-compulsive disorder. This role required more than just acting. It required pain. Leonardo did not just read about OCD. He studied it deeply. He talked to doctors, he read books, and he even locked himself in rooms for hours to feel the anxiety, the fear, the obsession. He wanted to understand what it was really like to be trapped in your own mind. He changed his voice, his posture, his movements. In one famous scene, he sits naked in a theater, repeating the same line again and again, shaking, sweating, breaking down. It was haunting. It was brave. It was unforgettable. And finally, the Academy noticed. Leonardo was nominated for Best Actor. He did not win that year, but it did not matter as much. The world now saw what he had always believed in himself. Leonardo DiCaprio was not a teen idol. He was a serious, powerful, and committed actor. In 2006, Leonardo gave not one, but two outstanding performances. First, in Blood Diamond, he played a diamond smuggler in war-torn Africa. His character was rough, selfish, and dangerous, but slowly he finds a conscience. Leonardo trained with African soldiers, practiced the difficult South African accent for months, and even visited war zones to understand the reality. His performance was raw, emotional, and unforgettable. He earned another Oscar nomination for it. In the same year, he reunited with Scorsese for The Departed, a dark crime thriller set in Boston. He played an undercover cop hiding inside a violent gang, risking his life every single second. That film won Best Picture, It was one of Scorsese's biggest hits, and Leonardo's performance was explosive. You could feel the stress in his body, the panic in his eyes, the fear in every breath. Many people say he should have won the Oscar right then. But once again, he was nominated but not awarded. By now, Leonardo had built something rare in Hollywood. He was no longer just an actor. He had become a symbol of quality. If Leonardo DiCaprio was in a movie, people knew it would be meaningful. He had a rule: he would only work with great directors, and he kept his private life quiet. No scandals, no cheap fame. He focused on his craft. He turned down superhero films. He avoided franchise deals. He did not chase money. He chased greatness. And that is what made him stand out. That is what made people respect him, not just as a celebrity, but as an artist. Part 4. The Final Ascent. How Leonardo DiCaprio became a legend. After decades of hard work, powerful performances, and a deep commitment to artistic integrity, Leonardo DiCaprio had everything: respect, fame, and success. But there was still one thing missing: an Oscar. That little golden statue, the most prestigious award in acting, had eluded him again and again. He had been nominated several times. Audiences and critics alike said, if anyone deserves it, it's Leo. But every time the moment came, someone else's name was called. The world watched, confused, even a little hurt. Why? Why not Leo? And yet DiCaprio never complained. He never broke down in interviews. He never stopped trying. He just smiled, thanked the Academy, and went back to work choosing films that mattered. Films that challenged him, films that gave him no rest until he had delivered something unforgettable. And then came the film that would change everything. The Revenant from 2015. This was not just a film, it was a war. Leonardo DiCaprio took on the role of Hugh Glass, a real-life frontiersman from the 1800s who was mauled by a bear and left for dead. But somehow he survives and crawls for hundreds of miles through snow and wilderness to find the men who betrayed him. This was not a comfortable studio set with green screens and coffee breaks. This was raw, real, and ruthless. The director, Alejandro G. Iñárritu, who was known for the film Birdman, wanted everything to be shot in natural light, in remote locations, in freezing temperatures. No faking it. No shortcuts. And Leonardo said, yes. Here is just some of what he had to go through. He slept in animal carcasses in the snow to stay warm. He ate a raw bison liver. Yes, a real raw liver on camera. He waded through icy rivers, sometimes for hours at a time. He fought with wolves, crawled with what looked like broken bones, and screamed without using words. But it was not just a physical performance. Leo had to become a man who had lost everything: his son, his strength, his hope. And still, he pushed forward. There was very little dialogue in the film. Most of his performance came through his eyes, his body, and his silence. Every breath he took on screen felt like a battle. When the film came out, people were stunned. They did not see Leonardo the actor. They saw Hugh Glass, broken, bloody, desperate, and somehow still alive. Critics called it the performance of a lifetime. Audiences whispered, this time he has to win. And finally, on the night of the 88th Academy Awards, when the presenter opened the envelope and said those long-awaited words, "And the Oscar goes to Leonardo DiCaprio," the world erupted. He stood up slowly. The entire audience gave him a standing ovation. Every camera in the room pointed at him. Every heart was with him. He walked to the stage not as a movie star, but as a man who had earned the deep respect of the entire planet. And when he held that Oscar in his hands, he did not make the moment about himself. He did not cry. He did not boast. Instead, he spoke about something much bigger. He said, "Climate change is real. It is happening right now. It is the most urgent threat facing our entire species. Let us not take this planet for granted. I do not take this night for granted." Because by now, Leonardo was not just an actor. He was an activist, a philanthropist, and a voice for the earth. He had started the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, which supports environmental causes, protects endangered animals, fights global warming, and educates people about saving our planet. He used his fame not just for films, but for real change. After winning the Oscar, Leonardo could have slowed down, but he did not. He kept working with brilliant directors. In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 2019, directed by Quentin Tarantino, he played an aging actor trying to stay relevant. It was a funny, emotional, and deeply personal performance. In Don't Look Up in 2021, he played a scientist trying to warn the world about an incoming comet. The film was a clever metaphor for climate change, something he speaks about so passionately. He also started producing films and documentaries, not just starring in stories, but helping to create them. He met with world leaders, he spoke at the United Nations, he walked at climate marches, and he donated millions of dollars to save forests, oceans, and animals. He proved that fame is not just a gift, it is a tool, and you can use it to build something beautiful, something that truly matters. So who is Leonardo DiCaprio really? He is a child from a poor neighborhood in Los Angeles, a teenager who was rejected by many because of his look and his name, a young heartthrob who refused to be trapped by his own beauty, a man who chose art over fame and depth over glamour, an actor who gave his entire body, mind, and soul to every single role, and a human being who chose to fight for the planet instead of just enjoying his luxury. He is not perfect. He has made mistakes. He has had relationships that did not work out. He has been criticized for his lifestyle. But he never claimed to be flawless. What he did and continues to do is strive, grow, try, and inspire. As we come to the end of this unforgettable journey, let's take a moment to step back and truly understand what Leonardo DiCaprio's life teaches us. He is not just a Hollywood icon. He is not just the man from Titanic. He is not just someone with a handsome face and global fame. Leonardo DiCaprio is a symbol of patience, of purpose, of progress. Today, his net worth is estimated to be over $300 million. He owns beautiful homes, luxury cars, even a private island. But that is not what makes him rich. What makes him rich is how he never ever gave up on his dream. Here are a few lessons from Leonardo's life. First, believe in your dreams, even if other people laugh. When Leonardo was just a young boy in a small apartment, people told him he would never make it. His name was too strange. He was rejected many times, but he believed in himself when no one else did. Second, do not let success trap you. Let it push you. After Titanic, he could have taken the easy path and made simple romantic movies for the rest of his life. But he did not. He rejected the comfort of fame and chose the difficult road, the road of great storytelling and meaningful characters. Third, remember that failure is not the end. It is fuel. He lost the Oscar again and again, but he did not give up. He did not blame anyone. He simply worked harder. And when his time finally came, the world stood up and clapped for him. Fourth, use your voice for something bigger than yourself. Even with all the money and fame in the world, Leonardo did not forget his responsibility. He fights for climate change. He supports wildlife. He speaks for the earth. Because success is not just about what you achieve, It is about what you give back. And finally, never stop evolving. He is no longer just an actor. He is a producer, a philanthropist, a global voice. He is proof that our growth never has to end. And now I want to talk to you, the listener. Maybe you are sitting in a small room today, doubting your own dreams. Maybe people laugh at your goals. Maybe life has pushed you down again and again. But please remember this. Leonardo was once a boy just like you, like me, like all of us. He had no connections, no fame, no guarantees. He just had a dream, a deep belief, and a fire in his heart. And that was enough. So never give up. You do not need to be born great. You just need to start. Study. Work. Improve your English. Speak with confidence. Chase your passion. Because you never know who is watching, and you never know how far you can go until you try. Your Oscar moment, whatever it may be, will come. And one day, people will tell your story just like we told his. Until then, keep moving. Keep believing. Because the world is waiting for you.